Let's now get some more insight on this story from Belgrade and across to Serbian-Canadian filmmaker Boris Malagurski. What weight do you think was placed by the EU on this extradition? There's been a lot of debate around this point as a bargaining chip, if you like, for Serbia's much desired entry into the club.
Well, I think much more weight was placed on the arrest of Ratko Mladic and Radovan Karadzic, which of course Serbia has done, and I think Goran Hadžić was more or less not very important in Serbia's bid for joining the European Union. Of course, everybody mentioned it as a prerequisite for EU accession talks, but of course, just like the arrest of Ratko Mladic and the arrest of Radovan Karadzic was never was never a prerequisite for EU membership, just for EU accession talks. The same way Goran Hadžić's arrest may open the door for EU accession talks, but it's very, very questionable whether arresting Goran Hadžić will actually lead to EU membership.
Now, many say that the next EU demand may be for the recognition of Kosovo. Do you think President Tadic would go that far to fulfill his membership dream?
I think when a government says that the EU does not have an alternative, it means that it should be attained at any cost. And of course, the recognition of Kosovo will be no exception to that. Just like the government arrested Ratko Mladic, just like they arrested Goran Hadžić, and before that Radovan Karadzic, they, I am sure, will recognize Kosovo, and this is an unwritten prerequisite for joining the European Union. And this, even though it hasn't been said so directly by EU's heads, it has been said by lower-ranking officials. For example, most recently from Germany, who said that Serbia will have to recognize Kosovo if it wants to join the European Union. So this will be another prerequisite for joining the EU. And I think the Tadic government has already done a lot in the direction of recognizing Kosovo. Of course, they recognized the documents from the self-proclaimed Independent Republic of Kosovo, so-called. So I think the recognition of Kosovo will come as a next step, and sadly I think that the people of Serbia think they are powerless to stop that.
Well, let's talk about the people of Serbia. What do they think about all of this? Do they share the same sort of ferocious political will to join the EU?
I think there are two types of people in Serbia: people who have illusions about the EU and people who are realistic about the EU. Those who have illusions about the EU think that the EU will solve all their problems. Most of them are hopeless to begin with and are looking for any sort of way out of their situation, and they completely ignore what's happening in Greece, what's happening in Portugal, Spain, etc., etc. So they think the EU will solve all their problems. And then there's a second group of people who I think is the majority in Serbia, who are realistic, who know that there is no quick fix to the situation in Serbia, and know that joining the European Union at this point will be like being on a sailboat, on the ocean, trying to board the Titanic. It just pretty much won't help them at all, and they are realistic that everything that the government is saying, everything that the politicians are saying, is just something that they have to say, something that they do in order to please their so-called EU partners. But in reality, it will not give anything to the average citizen of Serbia.
Okay, Boris Malagurski, a Serbian-Canadian filmmaker and screenwriter. Thanks for those thoughts from Belgrade.